Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. So we continue our discussion on Srimad Bhagavad-gītā as it is. And so far we have discussed 5 chapters. And we mentioned in the previous chapter, in 5th chapter actually, how it is important to first understand that the Lord is the proprietor of everything and enjoyer of everything, but at the same time also friend of every living entity. So whatever he teaches anyone is just for his benefit, ultimate benefit. It's not that he's egoistic, but everything is done for our benefit. And he's explaining that one should raise his consciousness about this material world, because this material world is, as will be explained also later, the source of misery, the source of misery. And if we are attached to these sources of miseries, of different miseries, then we just suffer, and it's a sign of lack of intelligence. Yes. Yes. So then Krishna proceeds to 6th chapter, and he begins explanation. He doesn't wait for Arjuna to ask any questions, and he explains again what is sannyasa. At the beginning of 5th chapter he gave a definition of sannyas, and now again he is giving another definition of sannyas. Anashritah karma palam karyam karma karotiyah sa sannyasi cha yogicha naniragnir na chakriyah. Basically it means that one shouldn't be attached to the fruits of his actions, and this is true sannyasa. And not that if we neglect our duties like lighting fire and so on. Yes, so we shouldn't neglect our duties, but we shouldn't be attached either to work or to the fruits of our work. Yes, this is very important instruction for us, because Prabhupada many times said that everyone should be sannyasi actually, even grihasta sannyasi he's calling. And grihasta, brahmachari, the different names for proper grihasta is are used by Prabhupada. So you should know that bhakti, its very nature is vairagya. It's not attachment. Yes, vairagya vidya nija bhakti-yoga. This is explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Yes, so, and as we mentioned yesterday, I think this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Vasudeva Bhagavati bhakti-yoga prayojita janayati ashu vairagyam jnanam chayata haitukam, that naturally from bhakti immediately follows vairagya and jnana. Yes. So this is the sign of proper engagement in bhakti, that it is followed by vairagya and jnana. And if it is not, then something wrong in our in our path or execution of the path of devotional service. And then he explains that there is no difference between yoga and sannyasa. So, yes, there is no difference. Yam sannyasi yata prahur yogam tam vidi pandava. Nahya sannyasta sankalpo yogo bhavati kashchana. Without sannyas, no one can be yogi. without this sannyas that he just explained what is sannyas. Yes. And then he explains that for the beginner, work is proper execution of sannyas. And for those who have achieved perfection, abstaining from work is proper execution of sannyas. Yes, this is very interesting, because also Prabhupada said, hard work now, samadhi later. Yes, so this is proper execution for those who are neophytes, who haven't achieved perfection yet. So they should engage in practical devotional service. Yes, in practical devotional service. And then for practical devotional service, is very important to always control our mind, because mind is our deadly enemy. And it is explained here in 6th chapter that mind can be a friend or an enemy, but uncontrolled mind is an enemy. But even though we may control our mind, this is not an ordinary friend. Yes, because we usually trust a friend, don't we? And this is a meaning of friendship, that we trust. But mind should never be trusted. Yes, it is explained in 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Nityam dadati kamasya chidram tanam yogina krita metrasya patyurjayo punshali. That nityam dadati kamasya, that mind always gives rise to lust. Nityam dadati kamasya. And is destructive for our spiritual progress. And if one trusts his mind, is like a husband of a prostitute. Yes, who trusts his wife, but he's definitely cheated. Yes, and Prabhupada translates according to his vision this verse, not exactly what the verse is telling, but he adds, he says that lovers of such a wife will definitely kill the husband. Yes. So if one happens to be married to a prostitute or to unchaste wife, he should never trust his wife. Actually, it's better to get away from her. So, and there is another example in Srimad Bhagavatam, that mind is like a wild, ferocious beast, and yogi should be like a hunter that catches this beast. But if he's not vigilant even for a moment, this beast can escape and turn against him and tear him apart. Yes. So we should know that this is not an... Even if we are able to control the mind, we should not trust them, not trust it, not even for a moment. Yes. And then he explains that one who is able to control the mind, he's already achieved Paramatma in some way or another. Yes, because he can then be always connected. The purpose of controlling the mind is not just to break his longings for material enjoyments, but to engage him in thinking of Krishna. Yes, because this is the essence of all instruction of Shastra. Smartavyak satatam Vishnur vismartavya najatuchit sarve vidi nishedaksyur etayur eva kinkara. That all instructions, all different prescriptions and all different prohibitions are meant only for one instruction, one injunction, one commandment, and one prohibition. And this one commandment is Smartavyak satatam Vishnur. Always remember Krishna. And what is one prohibition? Never forget him. Vismartavya najatuchit. Never forget him. Yes. And all these different injunctions are only maidservants of this one commandment and one prohibition. Yes. Therefore, whatever one does in this life, if he wants to progress in any way, this is the system. Just remember Krishna and never forget him. Yes, with whatever you do, whatever service you perform, just this is the essence of performing any service. So if you cleaning the pots, washing the pots, washing the floor, or writing books, or distributing books, or painting, we are painters, whatever we do, or we are musicians, if we engage in these activities in devotional service, they are meant not just for some service to be executed, to be done, but for us to remember Krishna. Yes. This is the importance of this injunction. Yes. So then Krishna explains different processes, yogic processes of achieving this mind control. That are quite impractical, even for Arjuna, what to speak for modern days. To go to some lonely place and be completely without fear. You just can imagine you go to some lonely place in Himalayas and you sit down in wilderness and you completely dedicate to meditation with erect spine and focus on chanting or whatever meditation you do, and then something is cracking behind your neck, behind your back, some leopard or who knows what, but you shouldn't look around. So this is not practical process for modern age. Yes, and he explains that the basis of mind control is balanced life. This is very important to understand, because if we are imbalanced in our life, we'll not be able to control our mind. Yes. Yukta hara viharasya, yukta cheshtasya karmasu, yukta swapnava bodhasya, yogo bhavati duhkaha. One should be balanced in sleep, in eating, in work, in recreation, in whatever we do. We should be balanced. So no excessive sleep, not sleeping too little, no excessive eating, not eating too little, no excessive work, nothing excessive, not excessive idleness either, or excessive rest. So everything should be balanced. And then Krishna says, then we can be free from all suffering and engage in yoga. Actually, yes. And he explains how our mind should be completely fixed, It's unwavering, like flame of candle where there is no air movement. And if our mind wanders away, because it's nature of the mind which is unstable to wander here and there, one should control it immediately again and focus it on our purpose. And then he explains how we should have this vision that everything is in Krishna. If one sees everything in Krishna, every living entity in Krishna, and that Krishna is within every living entity, then he is never lost for him, Krishna explains. And he is never lost for me either. So that in that way we are always connected with Krishna. So we should know that every living entity is Krishna's, as we discussed already in 4th chapter, that every living entity is Krishna's living entity, and that Krishna is in every living entity. We should never forget this. So we should not be neglectful for other living entities, or have this idea that I'm superior because I'm a human being, or I'm a devotee, or these people, for example, are demons, and they may be real demons. But we should know that they serve only Krishna. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj once said that if one thinks that there is any imperfection in this world, that means that he is imperfect. Yes, even most cruel demons are just acting according to the Lord's will. Yes, because everything is going on by the Lord's will. Yes, of course, they exhibit their free will, and they will be held responsible for their action. But we should know that that they are also reaction to other people, to others people's work before. So everything is happening by the Lord's arrangement and will. And if we think that anything is imperfect, is projecting imperfection in Krishna. Yes. So we try to get on the transcendental platform ourselves, and we try to help other living entities and engage everyone in devotional service. Not because we think that anyone is imperfect, but because we are instructed to. So following an instruction in this regard is perfection. Yes, and we know that these living entities without Krishna consciousness are just suffering, as explained by Krishna himself. Yes. So, but Arjuna felt that this yoga process is impossible, to be so fixed, one-pointed, always mind under control, or to go to the lonely place. And he said that, I think this is impractical. and that to control the mind is very difficult task. The mind is like a ranging wind. So controlling the mind is similar to control the raging wind. Yes. Yes. And then Krishna says something really important. And he says, Asamshayam mahamaho mano durnigraham chalam abhyasanatu kaunteya vairagyena chagrihati. That undoubtedly, asamshayam means without doubt. The mind is very stubborn and difficult to control. Asamshayam mahabaho. But he's calling Arjuna Mahabaho, the one with mighty arms, mighty hands. You are strong personality, not just with your hands, but also in all other regards. So you should go for it. Manodur nigraham chalam. The mind is very stubborn and restless. Achalam. Yes, extremely. But, he says, abhyasana tu kaunteya vairagena chigrihati. You can conquer the mind by constant practice, by abhyasa. And this is stressed by Krishna many times. He will mention abhyasa, the same expression, abhyasa, also in 8th chapter and 12th chapter, how it is important to engage in abhyasa. Abhyasa means practice. Practice, like a military drill. Yes, because our mind is material element, and it is designed to support our material existence. Yes, without this is its function. It's to survive on material platform because it's material element. Yes, it's designed for this purpose. So when we try to spiritually elevate ourselves, mind doesn't cooperate easily because it's not designed for spiritual perfection. It's designed for material existence, to exist as well as possible in this world. Yes. Therefore, has its likes and dislikes, accepting and rejecting all the time. Yes, this is good, this is not good for my existence. For what else than existence? Yes, so mind is designed to accept and reject everything that is for good for existence and reject everything that is not according to his estimation. So yes, when we try to progress on spiritual path, this is not for the mind something crucial for existence. And it is not for material existence. Actually, it's against our material existence. Yes. We want to rise above material existence. Yes. So the mind is therefore very obstinate. It doesn't want to give up easily. But with constant practice by abhyasa and detachment, it is possible. And he says, asamyatatmana yogo dushprapaviti memati vashyatmana tuyatata shakyo vaptum appayata. In the very next verse, that if one is not able to control the mind, he will not be able to achieve perfection. Yes. So he's warning Arjuna. Although you say that this is not practical process, but without controlling the mind, you will not be able to achieve anything. And then Arjuna is worried what to do. And if he's asking Krishna, if a person who tries for spiritual elevation is not able to control the mind, what will happen to him? Because he's like a riven cloud, that he's not achieving anything in material world, and he will not achieve perfection in spiritual practice. What then? And I have met many people who have this same question. Have you met anyone with such a question? Shri Panchatattva ki jai. Yes. And Krishna explains, Partana vehana mutra vinashastasya vidati nahi kalyanat krit kashchit durgatim tata gachati. That if one is doing good things, he will never be destroyed. So even if he has to take another birth and another birth, many births, he'll be able ultimately to achieve perfection. And he'll be born in a wealthy family, and if he's very special soul, he'll be born to advanced transcendentalists. Yes. Aneka janma sansiddhas, he says that such a yogi, by after many births, he will achieve perfection. Yes. And then he says, at all cost, be a yogi. And amongst all the yogis, yoginam api sarvesham madgatinantaratmana shadavan bhajateyamam same yuktatamumate. Amongst all of them, my devotee is the best. So always be the best of yogis. Be my devotee. Yes. He's most intimately connected to me, is my yogi. And then this bhakti-yoga part of Bhagavad-gītā begins. Yes?
I had a question.
Yes.
When Krishna uses the word yogi, in 5th chapter, yogi, the yoga means, like, as I understood it, like who is karma yogi.
Depends.
And yogi here means like Ashtanga yoga or like dhyana yoga, meditation.
Yes.
So it seems like Krishna in the 5th chapter he uses for one who has renounced the world and just meditates sannyasi. But here he uses the word yogi. But in the previous chapter he uses the word yoga or yoga, one who is yoga yukta, for one who is
engaged in service. Yeah. Actually, again we can all this yoga and yogis connect with bhakti, as Prabhupada is doing. Of course, we can look technically in this as a yoga ladder, so that one can advance from Sakam Karma Yoga to Nishkam Karma Yoga and to Jnana Yoga and so on, to Bhakti. But actually Krishna is always stressing also Bhakti. So we can also see in this perspective that Krishna is always teaching just Bhakti. Understand? When he says yoga yukta, means that you connect all your work with devotional service. Because we mentioned that yoga actually means bhakti, that there is no other connection with the Lord than bhakti. And he explains in the beginning of 5th chapter that this is real sannyasa, and he repeats this in 6th chapter, in the beginning, the first verse of 6th chapter, that this is true sannyasa, that if you perform your work. Yes. And but to perform your work properly, you should be meditating upon me. Yes, so you should control your mind. And whatever process of controlling your mind is there, the essence of it is to remember me. Yes. Because when he says that you go to this solitary place, he says, Savankaya Shirogrivam Dharayana Chalam Stiroha Sampreksha Nasika Gramsvan Dichashchana Valokan Prashantatma Vigatabir Brahmachari Vratistita Manach Samema Machito Yukta Sita Matpara. So it is, he explains that you should be completely focused and you shouldn't look here and there and completely erect, and then you should practice brahmacharya and so on. But manak samama marchito, you should engage your mind with the consciousness on me. Yes, this is the point of all this yoga. And manak samama marchito yukta sita matpara. And again, matpara, I'm your goal, ultimate goal.
So is it like when Krishna says under all circumstances you should be a yogi means to be constantly absorbed in the Lord.
Yes.
Think of him. But then it doesn't mean we have to perform this sadhana which is described in the
chapter. No. And then he says that at the end of 6th chapter, that these different practices of yoga are good, but the main point is to become a devotee. It's not just about controlling the mind and focusing it on Paramatma, for example, but engage in my devotional service. Be my devotee. Panchatattva ki jai. Hare Krishna. Is this okay?
Yeah.
Yes. So be my devotee. Not just control your mind, but be my devotee. Yes. This is the essence of controlling the mind. He explains also before, to see me in every living entity, to see living that I am in every living entity. But this is not enough just to see, to have this vision, or just to think of the Lord, but think with devotion. Yes. And therefore, he says, therefore, he's intimately connected to me. Yes. So be bhakta. Yes. And he immediately explains in the beginning of 7th chapter, Maya sakta manahparta. So be attached to me. Attached. Maya sakta. Asakta means very attached. Maya sakta manahparta. Yogam yunjan madashaya. And again, perform yoga. That means all your work connected to me. But madashaya, by taking shelter of me. Yes. And thus you will attain all perfection. And then he explains how he can attain all perfection. Because first he explains that everything actually are his energies. Also these material elements are his energies. Bhumirapo nalovayuhu kamano buddhirivacha hankaretiyame bina prakritirashtada. These 8 elements are his separate energies. As earth, water, fire, air, ether, and mind, intelligence, and false ego are his 8 separate energies. And that there is soul, which is beyond matter, Hare Krishna. Shri Panchatattva ki jai. Yes, Krishna is appearing and disappearing just just to show us his pastimes. Yes. And by averting our attention to him, this is the perfection. Yes. So the point is, here he explains that everything actually comes from him, and that we should train our mind, because he before in 6th chapter says that by abhyasa yoga we should train our mind on him, that we focus on him, and we should understand that nothing is superior to him. Matah parataram nyat kinchitasi dhananjaya mayi sarvam idam prutam sutrimaniganaiva. That nothing is superior to me. And Prabhupada many times quotes this verse as a proof that nothing is superior, not that there is one feature that would be superior, of absolute, that would be superior to Krishna. Not even any other incarnation of the Lord or form of the Lord is superior to Krishna. No. Krishna is topmost. Matah parataram mandyat. Nothing is superior to me. Yes. And then everything is coming from him. The taste of water, the smell of earth, this sound Om is from him. Everything emanates from him. He's the intelligence of the intelligent. He's the strength of the strong. His sex desire, which is not against the principles of religion. Everything emanates from him. Yes. And then this will be more detailed, explained by detail in 10th chapter of Bhagavad-gītā. Here he explains something. In 10th chapter we explained more. But he concludes that this is just a fraction of my glory. Yes. And then he explains that there are categories of people who will never surrender to me, and this can be translated as 4 or even more. Depends how we divide these words. But for pious people, he explains that there are 4. He himself says that there are 4 pious people. Yeah. Yes, he says, Chaturvida jantimam janaksukriti norjana artur jigyasarartati gyanicha bharatarshapa. The distressed, those who want to be wealthy, those who are inquisitive, and gyanis, those who have deep spiritual knowledge, they will attain me. And they're all very elevated souls, even if they are just miserable and therefore they turn to me. But everyone that turns to Krishna is elevated soul. Yes, Krishna explains. But Jnani is as good as myself. It's interesting, because for a devotee in Srimad Bhagavatam, he explains that Uddhava, who is my devotee, is better than myself. Yes, but Jnani is as good as myself, he explains. Yes. But yoginam api sarvesham madgatanantaratmana. Bahunam janmanamanti jnanaman mam prapadati. Vasudevak sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. But yogi, he is not a devotee, who is a jnani. he will not achieve perfection. Only he will achieve perfection only many, many, many births and deaths. And when finally one who is jnani will understand that I am everything, then he will surrender to me. Yes, then he will surrender to me. And then he explains that there are many who are deluded by illusory energy, and they worship different demigods, and that he himself gives faith according to their desires, and that only he himself will give also the result of their worship, not the demigods, but he himself will give the result. But only those who are foolish will worship anyone else than him, and that results of this who worship anyone else than Krishna will be temporary, and they will achieve their temporary goals, but they will not achieve him, but devotees will achieve him. Yes. And that he is not revealed to foolish people, he explains. Yes, that he is covered by Yoga Maya. Yes. He's covered by Yoga Maya, therefore foolish people cannot understand him. But he knows everything. Past, present and future. Everything is known to him. Yes, but not for others. Yes, he knows everything. Every living entity. We just can see to have some idea if there is some big meadow, every single blade of grass he knows and knows its past, present and future. And not just every single blade of grass, but all the ants that are crawling there and all the bacteria that are there. It's completely beyond our imagination. Yes. Then if we try to grasp this idea, then we realize how utterly insignificant we are. How utterly insignificant.
If you try to realize what?
How every living entity is known to Krishna, and his past, present and future. Every blade of grass, every ant, every grasshopper, every bird, every bacteria, for everyone, and bacteria, how many trillions of bacteria are now in this room? You can just imagine. For every living entity to be healthy, needs at least 2 kgs of bacteria in his guts. Otherwise he wouldn't be healthy. So how many trillions of living entities there are? But Krishna knows everyone perfectly. And he knows his past, and he knows his present, and he knows his future. Yes. Hare Krishna. And then he explains that every living entity is delusioned in this world, and that one should become a devotee. Yes. He again says, and he can become the devotee if he's pious. He's pious. And then in 8th chapter, he deals with consciousness very much. He explains that antakale chamameva smaran muktva kalivaram yah prayati samad bhavam yati nastyatra samshaya. that if at the time of death one thinks only on him, if he concentrates his mind on him, he will, without any doubt, acquire his nature. He will get the nature as he has the nature. He has the same nature. That means spiritual nature. And he will achieve him. And then he explains that whatever state of consciousness we are in, that state will just continue. Yes. If at the time of death we have certain type of consciousness, we'll just continue our existence on the same level. Yes. And that is very important instruction, because many times people tend to think that death will bring them some miracle. Yes. I believe we have discussed this in the summer. Yes. This is common belief for everyone, actually, practically speaking. For every religious person, and even devotees are not much different, as if they don't have really deep knowledge. And here Krishna explains no miracle at the time of death. Yes, whatever state of consciousness you are in at the time of death, you'll just continue. Death has no power to create miracles. Yes. So be conscious now. And therefore he says, tasmat, that means therefore, because death will not bring you miracle. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmara yudhyacha. At every time remember me and fight. That means yogam yunjam. You engage your work with me. Always think of me. Sarveshu kaleshu. That kala means time. At all times, think of me. Yes, and you will achieve me without any doubt. Yes, this is the consequence. But because we cannot be in such a samadhi, abhyasa yoga yukta nachita sananagamana paramam purusham damyam yati partana chintayan. Engage yourself in abhyasa yoga. That means this drill of consciousness, this drill of consciousness, this training of consciousness, that we think of Krishna, that we practice this thinking of Krishna. Therefore, Prabhupada said minimum 16 rounds. Minimum. This is not maximum. Many times devotees think this is maximum. No, this is minimum. This is bare survival. Yes, like those people in the concentration camps. They survived, but barely. Some of them survived. Barely. They were like bones only. This is minimum. We shouldn't strive for minimum. Yes, we should be well nourished, not just minimum survival. Yes, we should be well nourished. So Prabhupada said at the beginning, chant 64 rounds. And then they were taken aback, his disciples, and said, we cannot chant 64. He said, okay, then chant 32. And they still said, we cannot chant 32. Then he said, okay, 16 minimum. Minimum. That doesn't mean that this is maximum. Yeah. So this is called abhyasa, that Krishna is stressing here. Abhyasa, that we always train our consciousness. Think of me, think of me, think of me. Therefore, chant, chant, chant. Yes. And also engage in other practices as reading and listening to Krishna Katha and everything, just with this purpose, to remember me, remember me, remember me. Yes. And he says that for such a devotee, I'm easily attainable, says Krishna in 8th chapter. And and such devotees can easily go beyond this place which is full of misery. Yes. And he explains that this is place of misery and temporary world full of misery. Mamupetya punarjanma dukkhalayama shashvatam napnuvanti mahatmana samsiddhim paramam gata. Yes. And he explains that every place in this material world is full of misery. Even if you go from Brahma Loka to Pata Loka, you'll have to come back if because one would object that in Bhagavatam it is explained that Brahma and all these people from Brahma Loka go to spiritual world. But of course we should know, if their consciousness is not fixed on Krishna, as he explained before, yam yam vapi smaram bhavan tyachanti anti kalivaram tam tam aveti kanta sadatvat bhava bhavata. That if they're not fixed on Krishna, they will come back again and again and again. But if they are fixed on Krishna, doesn't matter where they are, Patalok, Brahmalok, earth, they will go to me. Yeah. So we should understand how important is not external situation, or that we just perform some service or chant and think of other things and scrolling on the phone or what to do something else. No, chant focused on Krishna. And if the mind goes away, focus again and again and again. Krishna is stressing this so much. Yes. And then he explains that this world is just rotating in like Brahma's days and nights and thousands of years, and living entities become manifest and unmanifest, and it's useless waste of time. So, and there is another world which is beyond this appearing and disappearing world, and be on that level. Yes, and always be yogi. Because for yogis who know Brahman, if they in certain time pass from this world, they will attain Brahman, and if in other time they will leave this world, they will achieve first the moon, and they will come back to this world. So, but don't worry about these different paths, just be yogi. Again, he stresses this. Be my devotee. Be my devotee. Yes. Hare Krishna. Is there any question or comment? Yes, please.
So, like fixing our consciousness on Krishna is
the essence of everything.
But Krishna says that in order to do that, we have to do
Abhyasa yoga. Yes.
Like practical devotional service.
Yes, we should practice our consciousness.
Yes. So all the knowledge that is given, how can we use that?
This knowledge of devotional service.
Yes.
Yes, it helps us to remember Krishna. If you remember Bhagavad-gītā by heart, you can always think of Krishna, for example. And if you remember, and Srimad Bhagavatam is even more content to remember. And Bhagavatam is not different than Krishna. And Krishna's words in Bhagavad-gītā are also non-different than Krishna. So this knowledge is is also devotional service. Knowledge about bhakti is also bhakti, and also helps us to remember Krishna. And if you know what is the preaching of Chaitanya Charitamrita and books of our Goswamis, then you'll be fixed in devotional service all the time. This is the purpose of this knowledge, to be fixed on Krishna all the time. Yes, and never forget him. Hare Krishna. Is this okay, or are you asking something else? Okay.
When Arjuna was asking the end of the 6th chapter there, he was saying that what about one who fails?
Yes.
And sometimes I find myself, especially in this young age, that I have to accomplish a lot, that okay, I take this spiritual life and really dedicate, but maybe I'm missing out something out there. And sometimes it can even be that for a purpose of preaching, for example, that I don't go to take education, I just go directly, that I'm missing out something that I would be able to preach better if I went to the... Is this a lack of faith, or what is it? Could you say something about it?
Hare Krishna. Krishna is giving us different abilities. Everyone has his own abilities. One is has talents for art. One has talents for I don't know, for music. One has talents for writing. One has talents for speaking. One has talents for serving others. One is very dexterous with his hands. One is not. One is very clumsy. So he gives different abilities. And if you are attracted to something very much, that means that Krishna wants you to use abilities in this particular way. Understand? Because people are very much interested in different things. Yes. I myself could never paint, for example. So I'm not interested in painting myself. I admire paintings, but there's no way that I could paint. I can draw like a one who is 8 years old or something. I'm no better in this. Yes. And there are so many fields of activities that we are not good at. But there are fields of activities that we are interested in very much. Everyone has some attractions in life. And so we should pursue these attractions, especially in young age. We should not put them away and think that these are not important things in my life. But since we are devotees, we should definitely connect everything to service. If something is not beneficial for service, we should just reject it. If you are interested to be a hunter, we should know that this is not proper engagement. Yes. So if you have strong motivation for something and strong desires for something, engage your talents in this way. And as Sridhar Maharaj once said to different people, I remember. You remember Sridhar Maharaj? Prabhupada's disciple, Sridhar Maharaj. Yes, he was
here a lot.
he was here also many times.
Yeah, in Stockholm.
He visited our home even, and he lived with us a few days in Göteborg.
Yes, he was called Jolly Swami. Yes, he said to me and also to others, if you strive for something, be the best in this field. Yes. Be the best in this field. So if you are attracted to something, go for it and be the best. But of course for Krishna only, not for your fame and glory and money and so on, but for service sake, not for anything else. Yes, please.
It's a little bit when one has this kind of talent, like intelligence also, it's easy that one is overcome by that, separate to Krishna. It's more related to the ego than. But for example, I don't want that I'm so important, but in my own life, and it was like that when I became brahmachari, I stopped painting. For 6 years actually, I didn't do not one painting. But I had to get that foundation first. That everything is for Krishna. So as a brahmachari, it's this education. And then I started. When I became grihastha, then I started again. And I think in the cultures, in the Eastern cultures, it was like that very much. You became. Before you got your really education, you became like a monk, actually, for a few years.
Yes.
In the Buddhistic culture, it's like that too.
Yes, this brahmacharya life. Yes. Yes, it's very important what you have said. But this brahmacharya life is also training for our life. So yes, brahmacharya is not stressed at all in modern life. So yes, brahmacharya should be there. We should train our life to be satisfied with austere life, actually. To be satisfied with austere life. That we don't need much on the material platform, and that we are very much that we are empowered by this training. Yes, because then we can stand on our own legs. But this should come before our focus on some particular engagement. For example, in your case, you were already a painter at the time when you joined Brahmacharya ashram. This is not traditional practice. In traditional practice, you would first become Brahmachari and then train for a painter and learn this art. Yes. So, yes, first we should go through some spiritual training as brahmacharya and then engage in our pursuits. Yes. If there are completely spiritual pursuits, then we just take sannyas or stay brahmacharis for whole life. And if we have some inclination for some particular art or anything, then we should pursue this. And if we are in inclination to get married and to have family, we should pursue this and attain perfection through this. It's possible if we have strong spiritual foundation. But if we don't have this spiritual foundation, then everything is lost. Yes. Yes, please.
There's a nice quote in this regard in the 8th chapter, last verse. Prabhupada writes about this brahmachari. After the student studies the Vedas under the master for a period from 5 to 20 years, he may become a man of perfect character. Study of the Vedas is not meant for the recreation of armchair speculators, but for the formation of character.
Yes.
But it's like the basis of everything is your character. If you have that wonderful character, then everything else you will pursue in your life will be wonderful, and you will be successful and able to make a wonderful contribution. But if you don't have that character, then anything you pursue will be useless, more or less.
Yes, and harmful for you and for the whole society. Yes, very, very important point.
Focus on the basis in life.
Yes. Yes. To become a man of perfect character. Good. Yes. This is the basis of everything. And spiritual life is not something without regard of perfect character. Yes. Okay, yes, please.
About this vairagya and abhyas. Abhyas, of course, is in, but vairagya, does it mean you should detach yourself from the mind, or detach from when it says that you have to practice abhyas and vairagya?
Yes, vairagya should be there, or detachment, and this is not detachment from the mind, but from anything material, actually. And mind is the generator of desires. Therefore, we should practice our mind to focus on spiritual realm and Krishna and service. But detachment is that we don't need much for our life. That we don't think that we need so much. So we should, it is explained in 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, that we should be satisfied with bare necessities of life. Yes. And those who are not satisfied with bare necessities of life cannot achieve any spiritual advancement, actually.
It's like simple living.
Simple living. Yes, simple living. Yes. This is the meaning of vairagya. It's simple living, that we are not demanding anything. To be satisfied actually with anything that comes in our life. Yes. And not harboring desires for enjoyment. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad-gītā ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Bol. Please accept my